Today we're going to create this fun animated GIF using Procreate and some elements that we will source from free photo websites. This would be great for a birthday, for one of your friends or family members, or for any kind of celebration post, like for New Year's Eve. It would be fun to share on Instagram. I'm going to walk you through every step so you can recreate this on your own. My name is Kelley Burke. I'm a member of the Pigeon Letters design team, and I am here every month with new blogs for you. So let's get started. I'm going to start this as an 8 by 10 inch canvas. So I have this set up here, 8 by 10 inches, 300 DPI. And we are going to source the cupcakes from a free photo website called Unsplash. And we're also going to get the gold glitter from Unsplash as well. So here's the Unsplash website. We're going to find the cupcakes. I already found them, but I'm going to recreate that for you so you can find them. We're going to do teal cupcakes and see if they pop up. And we're going to scroll down, and there are more teal cupcakes than I would have thought. Here are the teal cupcakes in a different view. So if I tap on those teal cupcakes, that's a cool picture too. I'm going to scroll down, and it has related photos. So I was guessing these would come up, and indeed they did. It's by the same photographer. So I am going to hit download and download again, and then that will go to my files. I'm going to be using a gold foil overlay for my sparkler, and you can use one from Unsplash or any other one you have, or you could do silver, however you wanted to do it. This one is by a photographer named Katie Harp, and I have it saved in my Unsplash galleries under my name, Kelley Burke, and I'm going to tap on that, and I'm going to download that as well. Now we're going to go to my other favorite website for photos, and this is for vintage photos, and I'm going to go to Flickr, Flickr, and I am going to go to the Commons, and that's a place where you can get great free vintage photos. So I'm going to go to Explore, the Commons, and I want to make sure I'm searching in this box down here. And the woman's name that we're using is Sella Mason, so I'm just going to tap that in here so you can find it. And here's our friend Sella on a boat. And what we want to look for here is no known copyright restrictions, so that tells us that we can use it. And this photo is from the Library of Congress, which is one of my favorite places for getting photos because they often have a larger version available. So if we wanted to download it from here, the largest size would be 697 by 1024 pixels, which isn't very big. But if we scroll down here, there's a higher image resolution available. And if we tap on here, we can see that the largest file is a TIFF at 38 megabytes. And so this is a whole lot bigger. So we are going to save that to our camera roll by pressing on it and hit add to photos. Let's go back into Procreate, and we are going to isolate our cupcake. So we're going to go to wrench, add, insert a file. There's our cupcakes, and I am just going to choose one of them and isolate them. I'm going to just choose this one, the first full cupcake. You can choose any one that you would like. To isolate that, I'm going to go to the magic wand, freehand, and just draw around here. You want to make sure that you're on freehand, and I want to include just this cupcake. And then I'm going to do a 3-finger drag down, cut and paste. And it looks the same now, but what we have now is this cupcake on one layer and all the other ones on another. So we don't need these, so we're going to delete them and bring back our single cupcake. And then we're going to further isolate it by going to the magic wand, make sure we're still on freehand, and we're going to trace around with our Apple Pencil just inside the cupcake. And that is so we don't get any of the background in the image. It's just the cupcake. So it's better to leave just a little tiny bit of frosting with the background rather than getting the background into the frosting, if that makes sense. There's two different ways that you can do this. You can draw like this, or if you have a relatively straight line, you can tap like that. And you can also do the 2-finger tap to undo if you make a mistake. So here I'm just doing the tapping because we have a nice straight line to speed it up. And here we are coming to the original dot we made. I'm going to connect them. And once that happens, you can see that there's diagonal lines around everything except for the cupcake. So because we selected the cupcake, I'm going to do a 3-finger drag down again, cut and paste. And here again, we have the cupcake on one layer and the background on the other. And we can delete the background and bring the cupcake back. And here you might want to do a little cleaning up if there's any sharp edges like this. I mean, this looks pretty good, but let me show you how you would do it. I'm going to grab an eraser and I'm going to grab a monoline. I'm grabbing the monoline from the Pigeon Letters ink pack as an eraser, and I'm just going to like smooth away any of the rough edges here. And this is kind of picky stuff, but if there's any places where you could see the background in here, you might want to clean it up just by erasing. But that looks pretty good. So there is our cupcake. And now we are going to bring in Sella. She is saved to my camera roll. So I'm going to go to Wrench, insert a photo, bring her back right here. And I'm going to turn off the cupcake for now. And here is Sella. I have already isolated her using the same techniques that we did with the cupcake. So you'll want to do that as well. Or you can go to my website and I will have her as a freebie. If you go to kelleybrenberg.com and you go to freebies and you sign up, she'll be available there within one of my collage kits. So if you want that, you could grab the cupcake and Sella isolated so you don't have to do the work. Otherwise, you can isolate it using the same techniques that I showed you. So she's isolated, and we also have our cupcake. I'm going to turn that back on. And what I'm going to do is I am going to group them together. So I'm going to swipe to the left, hit group, and I'm going to rename that Sella. So we can see here that we need the cupcake a little bigger and Sella a little smaller. I'm going to go to this arrow. I am on uniform. I'm going to make the cupcake a little bit bigger. This looks good to start. I'm going to grab Sella, make her a little bit smaller so she's sitting on the cupcake. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to go to the group and arrow and move them together. Again, that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit to the center. We can always move her again. Now I'm going to create a border around it, and I'm going to use Procreate's drawing guide to help me. So I'm going to go to Wrench, Canvas, Drawing Guide on, and I'm going to go to Edit Drawing Guide, and I'm going to make the grid size bigger. This looks pretty good here. I have a grid size of 153 on my canvas, and I'm going to use those squares to guide me in my border, and I'll show you what I mean. I have a blue color here for my border, and I'm going to go back to the Pigeon Letters monoline from the ink set, and I'm just going to, whoops, I'm on a group, add a new layer, and I am going to draw my border around here. I'm going to draw a really rough rectangle, and then Procreate will help me with its quick shape tool. I'm going to go to Edit Shape, I'm going to tap Rectangle, and then I'm going to line up these little nodules with each square intersection. And that looks pretty good. And I'm going to grab that blue, whoops, I have a leak here, so it went through. Let's try that again. Color fill just the border. That looks good. I'm going to turn off the drawing guide because I don't need it anymore. Wrench, canvas, drawing guide off. So I think I'm going to bring Stella down just a little tiny bit here. That's good. We want to make room for her sparkler. Now I added a new layer right above Stella, and I'm going to grab a gray, a dark gray, and I'm going to grab the Pigeon Letters monoline. And here in the original picture, she was holding a piece of rope from the boat, but I'm just going to draw right over that. So we're obscuring the rope. And these are kind of tiny details, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm drawing it here, and I know I'm drawing over her fingers. That's fine. We're going to fix that. I think that looks pretty good. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to label this as wand. It's our sparkler wand. And I'm going to tap on the end, and I'm going to bring the opacity down to about 60%, so then we can erase the parts that are overlapping with her gloves. So again, I'm using the Pigeon Letters monoline as an eraser. And I am just erasing so it looks like she's holding the wand underneath her fingers, as one would. I'm going to bring the opacity back on the wand to 100% or max, and I'm going to zoom out, and that looks pretty good. We are getting ready to draw the sparkles. I'm going to add a new layer above the wand, and I will label that sparkler. And I am going to grab another brush from the Pigeon Letters ink set, and this one is TPL Ink Scratch, and I'm going to use that to make the sparkler. Right under the sparkler layer, I'm just going to draw a circle so I can get an idea of how big I want my sparkler to be. And we're going to be deleting this. This is just going to be a guide in making our sparkler. I want the sparkler to be just a little bit bigger than her head. And we're going to use this circle on a different layer. I'm going to bring the opacity down again to draw the lines. So some of the lines will be bigger than that circle and some of them will be smaller. I am going to delete the circle now. I don't think I need it. And I'm just going to fill in a little bit here. This brush is pressure sensitive, which is good. Some of the strokes are a little thinner and some are a little thicker, and that's the effect that I want for this here. Now we're going to add the gold foil overlay. I'm going to hit plus to add a new layer. I'm going to go to wrench, insert a file. I'm going to use that gold foil overlay. I'm going to move it up so it's covering the sparkler. I'm going to just make it a little bit smaller because it doesn't need to be any bigger than the sparkler. It just needs to cover the sparkler. And if I'm on the gold foil layer that's above the sparkler, I'm just going to hit clipping mask, and then it's going to apply the gold foil just to the sparkler. So that looks good. You have a cute illustration here, or you can go on to animate it, which I'm going to do. And when I do an animation, what I do is I duplicate the original image and then I animate it from there. That way I always have an original copy here. So I'm going to swipe to the left, I'm going to hit duplicate, I'm going to tap on this one, And here she is. What we're going to be doing now is the only thing that will be moving in this animation is the sparkler, and everything else is going to be holding steady. So I'm going to merge the gold foil layer with the sparkler so we have fewer layers. I'm going to bump the sparkler bit up, and I'm going to bring the border down. So everything here is going to be holding steady except for the sparkler. So I'm going to rename this background because that's going to be in the background. So in the background, we have the border, the wand, we have Sella, and the cupcake. I'm going to turn on Animation Assist. So I'm going to go to Wrench, Canvas, and toggle Animation Assist on. And as soon as you do that, you have this new toolbar at the bottom. And these are called frames, and frames correspond exactly with the layers that you're familiar with. So here we have the background layers down here, and I'm going to toggle that on as the background. So that's going to be holding steady while our sparkler layer spins. And we're going to do that by duplicating the sparkler layer about 7 times. I'm going to go to the top layer. I'm going to tap on that arrow. I'm going to grab this green nodule and I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees each time. And we're going to do that 7 times so it'll go all the way around. And while we're doing that, we want to make sure that our sparkler stays centered on our little stick. If you zoom in here, you can see that we have our original sparkler layer that is at a lower opacity than our other sparkler layer. And for this one, we don't need that. So I'm going to go to settings and I'm going to turn my onion skin frames all the way off because all we really need to see is the sparkler layer that we're working on. And I can see when we rotated our sparkler that we need to center it a little bit so it's on the wand. So I'm going to do that. And we're almost done. We're just going to be duplicating this a few more times, specifically 5 more times. So duplicate the top layer, grab that arrow, grab the green dot and rotate it 45 degrees to the right. And then make sure that it's kind of centered on the stick. And we can test our animation now just to see what it looks like. So that is going really fast, but you'll get the idea. I'm going to slow that down. We can play with the speed again, but I know I don't want it to be 15 frames per second, which is how Procreate defaults. So I'm going to bring that down to, let's do 5 frames per second for now. We can always change that. So I'm going to hit pause here, navigate back to our top sparkler layer, duplicate, arrow, green dot, 45 degrees to the right. And then we do it again, duplicate, top layer, arrow, green dot, 45 degrees. And we're going to do that a total of 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more time. Duplicate the top layer, go to the top layer, grab the arrow, green dot, 45 degrees. Okay, let's see how that looks. We are going to hit play, and that looks good. It's a little slow, I think, so I'm going to bring it up to 6 frames per second, 7. This is a loop animation, so I'm going to just slow it down real slow so you can see what's going on here. This is a loop animation. I'm going to bring it down to 1 frame per second. So what it's doing is, if you look at these frames on the bottom, it's going from the first frame to the last frame and then back to the first frame and over and over and over again. That is a loop animation. If we do it as a ping pong animation, then it's going from the first frame to the last frame and then backwards, rather than going to the beginning again. You could do this animation either way. I think I'll do it as a ping pong animation just so it looks a little bit more random. And I'm going to speed it up again to 7 frames per second. So here we have our animation. To share it, you would go to Wrench, Share, and save as an animated GIF to your camera roll. And you would just hit Export, Save Image, and then it is in your camera roll ready to share with your friends. If you like this and you'd like to do more collage or more animation, check me out on Skillshare. I have 6 classes. Most of them are about animation and Procreate. I have one that is specifically like this class, animated collage. So check that out if you'd like to, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.